Okay, this is just a recap of verse mapping through the Bible for this past Monday, September 6th. We went over First King chapter 1 and chapter 2. Choose one verse or phrase from First Kings 1, chapter 1 or chapter 2, and then design of the translation. So I chose the King James Version, First King chapter 2, verse 2, the latter part of verse 2 and verse 3. I go the way of all the earth, be thou strong, therefore, and shew thyself a man, and keep the charge of the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways, to keep his statutes, and his commandments, and his judgments, and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moses, that thou mayest prosper in all that thou doest, and wheresoever thou turnest thyself. Okay, that's the old King language. Then I chose the ESV, English Standard Version. Be strong and show yourself a man. Verse 3, and keep the charge of the Lord your God, walking in his ways and keeping his statutes, his commandments, his rules, and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moses, that you may prosper in all that you do and wherever you turn. Then I use the NIV, be strong, act like a man. Verse 3, and observe what the Lord your God requires. Walk in obedience to him and keep his decrees and commands, his laws and regulations, as written in the law of Moses. Do this so that you may prosper in all you do and wherever you go. Okay, so I use the King James Version, the ESV, and the NIV. Again, I use Bible Gateway for those translations. Then the key phrases or words that I saw repeated and that stood out to me were be strong, keep statutes, that you may prosper wherever you go. So I looked up all except wherever you go. I didn't do that one. But it in the Strongs for be strong, it was to strengthen, prevail, to harden, be strong, become strong, be courageous, be firm, and grow firm. And then keep, to guard, to observe, to give heed. Okay, that H before the numbers is the number where you can find it in the concordance, which is the King James concordance that I used on Blue Letter Bible. Okay, I also have a hard copy of the NIV, but I used the one that was on the Blue Letter Bible. And then statues, it was ordinances, and I always have a problem saying that word. Ordinances, limit, enactment, something prescribed. And that you may prosper, which I found interesting in how prosper is used in this scripture, to be prudent, which is acting with or showing care and thought for the future. Be circumspect, careful to consider all circumstances and possible consequences. Wisely understood, prosper. And yeah, that was interesting. It wasn't the prosper of, as some folks will say, follow the word and he'll make you prosper, rich, have all the material things you want. That's not what that prosper is saying in that verse. Although those things may come out of acting and showing care and thought in the future, careful considerations of circumstances and possible consequences. wisely understood. That's what that means in that verse. Um, and then the action was King David is giving his son Solomon instructions and advice before he dies. So the outcome for me was, when I look at how prosper in this setting, it showed me that if I followed the Lord's statutes, do as he has told me to do, follow his ways, I will make wise decisions. I would have compassion when needed and able to see consequences on all sides of my decisions, I should say. So, yeah, that's what came out of that for me. Okay. Then the questions for chapter 1 and 2, the first one was, in what ways was Adonijah an opportunist? Opportunists is individuals who take advantage of a situation and of others for their own selfish benefit. Because of King David's declining health, his ability to carry out his duties as king was limited. He could no longer lead his troops into battle. He was unable to consistently manage his cabinet and staff, and his ability to keep tabs on his own sons, though this was lacking in the past. So he kind of lost that ability. But as we move on into the First Kings, we're going to reference some of the things that David and Solomon lacked in raising their sons, or keeping tabs on their sons. Unfortunately, David's situation provided a prime opportunity for an opportunist to strike, and Adonijah struck without hesitation. An opportunist looks at a crisis and asks, how can I use this situation to promote myself and get what I want? Opportunists usually show up uninvited, focus attention on themselves, and end up making the crisis worse. Adonijah was that kind of person. And then I added, even though in the class I didn't add this, but I added this looking at Warren Wisby commentary, something that he said: those who follow in the footsteps of Adonijah chose to put themselves first in the midst of another crisis. But those who follow the footsteps of Christ always put others first in the midst of a crisis. So after all, Jesus said plainly in Matthew 26-28, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. The next question that was that I had placed up on there, how Adonijah underestimated the stamina and wisdom of the old warrior David, and ultimately paid for his pride with his life. Adonijah must have forgotten that David went through this scenario with his other brother Absalom, and that's in Samuel. It was 2 Samuel. I'll get that verse for you and post it. They both rebelled against their father. Instead of imitating his father's strengths, Absalom followed his pride and greed and tried to seize his father's kingdom, his father's throne. Absalom took justice into his own hands by murdering his half-brother Amnon. Then he followed unwise counsel, rebelled against his own father, and tried to steal the kingdom. Both of these things is exactly what Adonijah was trying to do. Absalom imitated his father's weakness instead of his strength. He allowed selfishness to rule him instead of God's law. And when he tried to oppose God's plan and unseat the rightful king, destruction came upon him. Okay, as destruction, as we see, came upon Adonijah. So that was what we kind of went through Monday. Again, I will be posting some other PowerPoint videos on the character. I think this is a little easier to do this way instead of just posting all this for you to read. This way you can listen if you're doing something, and then you'll have this to go back. Again, if you have any comments, anything you want to add, we did talk a little bit about Adonijah went to Bathsheba to ask for the young lady that was taking care of King David, and how something similar happened with Adonijah when he took the concubines of David up on the roof. So if anyone wants to go ahead and kind of put in the scriptures for that, if you know that. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and post those in the chat and email them to you for those who are unable to get into the chat. Okay, I sent out the lessons for next Monday. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. And I had a great time with everybody that came to the group. It was exciting. And I'm looking forward to next Monday's lesson and what the Lord is going to show us during the week. Have a blessed week, okay? Bye.